What's good, my lake and me? Welcome back to another lovely, beautiful, sexy, amazing video with the equally lovely, equally beautiful, equally sexy, and equally amazing LiTTy. I already know what time it is. Now let's go. Now guys, today we will be reviewing the long and highly anticipated third studio album from J Hus called Beautiful and Brutal Yard. And we're going to break this down in way more detail. But already know what you got to do. You just got to like, comment, subscribe to be up to date and drop a banger like this one. And hit that note because you're in the East. You can be the first to know when one of these videos comes out. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now guys, I won't lie, I have now listened to this album in its entirety twice, which if you've been watching for a while, you know I like to do with all big albums to get a full proper understanding of each body of work before I break it down for you. And trust me, there's a lot to break down with this album. If you didn't know, this is J Hus's third studio album after Big Conspiracy being the second and Common Sense being the first, respectively. And I'll just have to kick off this review by saying that this album is nowhere near as good as Common Sense. I'm not gonna lie to you. And that's facts, no printer. Whether or not it's good as Big Conspiracy, well, I haven't really heard that album from start to finish in quite a while, so I can't fully comment on that. But from what I remember, I don't think it's as good as Big Conspiracy either. But take that opinion with a grain of salt. Now, I do think that overall this album is pretty good. I don't think it's a phenomenal masterpiece that I've seen a lot of people on Twitter calling it. I think we've definitely seen J Hus in much better form in his past projects, but it's definitely a good album and a solid addition to his discography at the moment. In terms of production, it is a slightly different J Hus sound than you would be used to. Of course, the absence of his frequent collaborator J5 is definitely noticed here, but I don't think that it derails the album in any way. It's not like a Drake, honestly, never mind type of thing, if you know what I mean. $100,000 for the cheapest ring on the neck finger, little bitch. But you can definitely feel the difference. Now, in terms of the songs themselves, I think there is actually a lot to enjoy here. We get exactly what we expected from J Hus. We have the usual Afrobeats type of vibe from him on songs like Who Told You, of course, Massacre, Militarian, etc. And I think on those songs in particular is where he shines the most and gives us that classic J Hus vibe that we've come to know and love over the years. I will say that the intro song on this album is pretty funny because he had one of his boys do like a speaking narration type of thing, and I'm not gonna lie, it sounded like GCSE drama quality. It was absolutely atrocious. I also did really enjoy the tune between him and Burna Boy. I think that whenever these two artists collab together, it's usually gold dust. However, I don't think this song is as strong as some of their previous collaborations, but it's definitely a tune that you can spin for the remainder of this UK summer. You know, it's got that type of vibe. The songs that I really enjoyed were the Cream song with CB. I mean, that song, boy, that just made me want to go from a part-time driller to a full-time driller. I could feel the balaclava growing out of my skin when I heard that tune. It is not calm. Bonkers. Now, I will say that whilst there are a lot of great songs on this album, there are some that I'm not going to say I necessarily don't like them per se, but they more so feel like they're just there. They're like filler songs, if you will. I think that that Alien Girl tune is a perfect example of this because, I mean, when you listen to that song, or at least when I do, I'm sitting there thinking like, what is he talking about? I don't even think J Hus knew what he was doing on that song. He was just talking, just bad talking. It just felt like a very unnecessary track, and that does comfortably lead me into one of my gripes with the album as a whole. I will say that it does feel a bit elongated. It feels like it goes on for a bit too long, and I don't necessarily think that's immediately due to the amount of songs on the album, because yeah, this album had 19 songs, but Common Sense had 17, which is not that far off 19. And that album is a classic. So I think it's more so that some of the songs were just okay. You know, they weren't amazing or mind-blowing. They were just all right. They were just meh.
I'm just saying.
And when songs are just meh, you kind of end up listening on autopilot instead of listening on manual, if that even makes sense. If you know what I mean, then I rate you highly.
You a literate nigga. You can't read between the lines.
And I believe that's another issue I think that this album has, is that the sound of a few of the songs don't seem to be as diversified as previous J Hus albums. Like, there's a few songs on here, not saying they sound the same per se, but I think more so J Hus just gave the same kind of energy on these songs, if that makes sense. And when you do that, it does make the song sound a little bit the same. Like, there was very few times where I sat and listened to this album and was, you know, blown away by how different a track that I heard was from the previous one. And I hate to keep going back to Common Sense, but this is the standard that J Hus has set for himself, so I have to use it as a point of reference when I'm discussing his albums. But I mean, like, in Common Sense, there's the first track, Common Sense, then there's Boof Daddy, then there's Clartin, and then there's Leave Me. Those first 4 songs are extremely distinct from one another. I just don't think we had that same level of distinction in this album. The final gripe with the album is that at times J Hus did feel a bit lazy on this album. At times, not throughout, but at times, on certain songs, he sounded like he was just phoning it in, I'm not gonna lie. And maybe that's because he was trying to rap like it was effortless, like he could do it in his sleep. But sometimes it sounded like he was doing it in his sleep. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people that might not be a bad thing for some people. Some people might like that effortless type of rapping, but I don't know, man. Me personally, I do like when rappers are rapping like their rent's due next month. You know what I mean?
$100,000 for the cheapest ring on the nigga finger, little bitch.
Overall, I think that this is a very solid effort from J Hus. I do think that he delivered a very good album, a high quality album, I must say. I wouldn't say that he blew me away or that he topped my favorite album from him, Common Sense. And I definitely don't think that this album is a classic or will be remembered as a classic 5 years down the line, because we're now about 5 years from Common Sense, or 6 years even. I don't think we'll be revering this album in the same way that we've revered Common Sense now. But I will say that there are a lot of good songs on here. This album does have a lot of replay value. There's a lot of good songs that I will be adding to my playlist and going back to, which is always a good sign. So I think I will give this album a 7.5 out of 10. I think that's about the most accurate rating for this album. And who knows, maybe that'll change as I continue to listen and digest the album further and, you know, pick up some of the punchlines and whatnot. But right now, that is where I'm at with it. But in the words of Heady One,
it's a bit of a sticky one still.
But let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below. What do you think about J Hus's new album, Beautiful and Brutal Yard? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 2,000 subs. You already know what time it is. You can follow my personal IG at the only LiTTyENT. If you care about what I do, I'm not making these bangers for you. I post updates on Twitter as well, so you might as well follow me on there, because what else are you doing for your life? Absolutely nothing, mate. Stay black. And if you're not black, stay whatever race you are. I bet.
Oh, you ain't know I could sing.
Beautiful and it's brutal at the same time. I feel at home in a place where a lot of crime and a lot of tragic things are happening. This is still home to me. It's beautiful to me. This is where I grew up. We don't have too much. We never had too much.